Why venting isn't always helpful. 1. Repeating the pain can make it worse. When we keep talking about a painful experience, like betrayal, heartbreak, injustice, or any kind of emotional wound, our brain processes it as if it's happening again. Each time you retell the memory or revisit the emotions, your brain reactivates the same neural pathways, releases the same stress hormones, like cortisol, and makes you feel that same sadness, anger, or pain all over again. In fact, the brain doesn't strongly distinguish between something that really happened and something you're just thinking or talking about. This process is called mental rumination. Rumination means you keep chewing on the same thought or event over and over, but you never actually digest it. You don't process it, and you don't let it go. You just hold on to it. This habit causes mental exhaustion, disrupts your focus, gets in the way of clear decision-making, and can even make anxiety or depression worse. So what should you do instead? Rather than venting again and again, try to talk about it once with a safe, trustworthy person or a therapist. Then shift to writing, reflecting, and understanding the root of the pain, and gradually move toward acceptance and change. If you're not ready for change yet, intentional silence is better than repetitive talk. 2. Becoming dependent on external validation. One hidden risk of venting too much is that you can gradually become dependent on others' sympathy and validation. How? Let me explain with a simple example. Imagine every time you feel upset, you immediately go to a friend, tell them how hurt you are, and they respond with, "You're totally right. You're amazing. They were wrong." At first, it feels comforting. But if this becomes a habit, it may lead to skull and crossbones. What happens then? 1. You lose touch with yourself. Instead of looking inward for answers or peace, you start relying on others to say, "You're thinking right," or "You have every right to feel this way." 2. Your inner confidence weakens. True confidence comes from within. But when you're constantly seeking external approval, even a little silence or disagreement can really shake you. 3. Independent decision-making becomes harder. You get used to checking in with someone else about every feeling or thought. Over time, it becomes hard to move forward without feedback or emotional support. 4. You may unconsciously fall into the helpless victim role, because it draws a lot of attention and validation. But in the long run, it holds back your personal growth. So, what can you do? Venting can be helpful sometimes, but it shouldn't be your main way of calming down. Learn how to manage your emotions without immediately turning to others. Try journaling, meditation, or self-help techniques instead. 3. Your emotions could be used against you. One of the hidden risks of oversharing is that when you open up to just anyone, there's a chance they might use your emotions against you. And the tricky part? You don't see it coming. People aren't always who they seem to be. Broken heart, how can it be used against you? 1. Telling others what you shared. One of the most common risks is that the person you trusted might later repeat your words to others. Not always out of malice, but the result can still feel like a betrayal. 2. Using your words in an argument. If you ever get into a conflict with that person, they might use your own vulnerable moments as weapons. For example, you said yourself you were weak that day, or remember what you said about that person? 3. Labeling or judging you. Sometimes after venting, the other person starts to define you by your pain or flaws. Like, she's the one who's super sensitive, or he's always upset. 4. Emotional manipulation or control. If the person has a controlling or narcissistic personality, they might use your words to keep you emotionally dependent. This is a subtle form of emotional manipulation, also known as gaslighting. Brain, so what can you do? Always ask yourself, is this person truly trustworthy? Even with close friends, take your time. Don't share your deepest thoughts too soon. For sensitive or deep emotional issues, it's safer and more helpful to speak with a therapist instead of a friend or acquaintance. 4. Reinforcing the victim role. When we talk about our pain too often, especially if it's just venting without seeking solutions or growth, we may unconsciously fall into the victim role. Speech balloon. What does playing the victim mean? It means in the story we tell ourselves, we're always the one who was hurt. Others were the bad guys. Life was unfair. And there was nothing we could have done. This feeling is sometimes valid, but if it becomes a habit, it can be harmful because prohibited. What can happen? 1. It reinforces a sense of helplessness. If you keep saying I'm the victim, eventually your brain believes it, and you stop seeing your own power to change or resist. 2. It weakens responsibility. In the victim role, everything is someone else's fault. You avoid asking, what was my part in this? And without that, growth stalls. 3. Life starts to feel repetitive. You keep telling the same painful story in your mind or in conversations, and your brain starts believing life always looks like this. 4. Your relationships suffer. People who constantly stay in the victim role often exhaust those around them. They talk about pain, not progress, complaints, not solutions. Hammer and wrench. So how can you step out of this role? Remember, feeling pain isn't the same as being a victim. Pain is human. Victimhood is a mental filter. After venting, ask yourself, what can I learn from this experience? What's my next step? Sometimes silent reflection leads to more growth than constantly retelling the past. 5. Emotional fatigue in others. Venting too often, especially when it's repetitive or purely negative, can emotionally drain the people around you. Even the kindest people have a limit to what they can hold. Brain. Why does this happen? People, especially close friends, usually listen with compassion and empathy. But when we constantly talk about our pain, complaints, or failures, over time, 1. They feel helpless. And that feeling of I can't do anything to help leads to emotional exhaustion. 2. The relationship becomes one-sided. If one person always talks and the other always listens, the balance in the relationship is lost. 3. Being around us becomes emotionally heavy. They might subconsciously sigh when they see our name pop up. Oh no, it's going to be another hour of venting. Police car light. What are the consequences? Some people may gradually pull away. Some may listen out of politeness but feel drained inside. And some might even directly say, enough already. That's when we start feeling like no one understands me or everyone's leaving me. But the truth might be, we've been overloading their emotional capacity. White heavy checkmark. What's the solution? Vent, but with balance. Sometimes ask, are you in the right headspace to listen right now, or should I tell you later? Try to mix your pain with hope or solutions. Most importantly, don't rely only on others. Work on your own emotional regulation skills, too.